Today's topic, the best system for converting online real estate leads into clients. We are going to take it from the clouds and then put it into the dirt and even get into the weeds a little bit. That's an analogy that I love from one of my favorite people, Alex Hormozy. So the clouds being theoretically, what's the best system? And then the dirt being like, what does that actually look like? And I'm going to share what's working best for me right now as far as a system, but then we'll also spend time getting into the weeds as far as the actual scripts, templates, etc., that are also working great to create more conversations. And that's really what today is about, is the best system for converting online leads is whatever works for you to create more conversation opportunities. Most of you know who I am, but if you don't, my name is Josh Schoenly, dual licensed real estate agent with eXp Realty and loan originator with Nexa Mortgage. Our real estate team is in central PA, Harrisburg, Mechanicsburg, York Triangle area, rural, generally speaking, a rural area. And we're positioned that we can cover 5, 6, 7 county area. And then our mortgage team is licensed in many different states, and we can help you at Nexa Mortgage. We can help you in 48 out of 50 states. Hopefully soon, all 50, but we'll see. I am going to refer to something that I haven't done in a while, which is a book that I wrote a while back. I'll weave that into today's topic and how there's some useful information in here on converting leads. And then, time permitting, I'm actually going to do some of the work as well, show you how I deploying this system for converting leads. And I don't like the word convert, especially with real estate sales. Like, I understand using the word when you're talking about converting a traffic, a website visitor into a lead. There's an actual conversion point. There's a point at which they put their name, email, and phone number in and hit submit. Like, that to me is a conversion. And we're going to talk about that in a couple of weeks on a session about Google pay-per-click and how we're getting conversions from someone to see an ad, click on the ad, submit their information. But when you're talking about taking an online real estate lead, a contact, and turning them into a client, the word conversion like never really made sense to me, because you cannot convert someone into a client. You can't convince someone to be a client without having a conversation. And in most cases, numerous conversations, right? It's not like there's this one thing that you can do that converts Jackie from being a lead in my database to saying, I'm your client, right? That's not the reality. So this is a book I wrote a few years ago. The big lesson, this is a side note, the big lesson that I learned after the fact, after spending many hours writing and publishing this with some help, is I included too many specific tactics that are no longer, the principles in here are very relevant, but there's too much in here that has become outdated with time, unfortunately. So live and learn. But at the time, when I had released it, it was an Amazon best-selling book for at least a period of time. And there's still a lot of really good principles in here. And there's a 4-step process, or like my core 4 principles for a database and getting more clients. And so, number 1 is identify. In other words, who is the avatar, the client avatar that I want to do more business with? We've talked about on a few of these sessions recently the baby boomer audience or niche. So there's lots of right or wrong answers to this. I don't know if Shay's here, but Shay
I am
realized
here.
recently. Yeah, what's up, buddy? Shay
Sorry, I'm in the
realized
car on
recently.
my way to a showing in Layton, so I'm in the truck. I'm sorry.
No, all good. So the shout out to Shay is he and I spoke recently, and he was reminded recently that one of his favorite client avatars is working with investors. And so he then set about building out something that would attract more of those clients. And he and I are going to do a little interview session, I think next week, on a calculator that he built, basically a lead magnet he built to attract those clients. And then that becomes a way for him to connect with those clients. And ultimately, step 4, notice it's not convert, it's converse, right? And this was I don't know. I wrote this in 2016, maybe. I don't even know when I wrote this anyway. But the point is, if you focus more on conversations, you're going to get more conversions, right? That's the big picture. And that's the clouds part of this is whatever system works for you to create more conversation opportunities is the best system for you. So I'm going to share what's working best for me right now. But ultimately, the most important takeaway that I would encourage you to spend some time on today and this week is what will work best for you. So if you're not sure where to start with that, look at what has worked for me. What strategies or systems have I used that have created conversations that ultimately then led to clients? And maybe do more of that. Or maybe you need a better approach, right? And so maybe you're going to take what I'm going to share today and you out and find out the best way for you to deploy that in your business. And I would encourage all of you that this system that I'm going to share, all of you could do that in your own unique way. So take it and deploy it for the way that makes the most sense for you and the client avatar that you want to focus in on and really dial in on. Before I get into that system for me, which is something that I've talked on a number of times on these sessions recently, I'm going to show my latest sort of evolution of how I'm deploying that system. But before I do that, I think I was listening to Curtis Fenn. Curtis is, I don't know if he's CEO or president, I don't know what his title is, at RedX. And I don't use RedX, but I love Curtis. I've known him literally for not quite 20 years. I've met him several times in person, genuinely an awesome guy, like legit awesome guy. And though I don't use RedX, the reason why I'm bringing him up is he said something on a YouTube video that I was listening to earlier this week that I thought was relevant to this conversation. For those of you that don't know, RedX provides data, expired FSBO, and some other data sets as well. And the point that he made that I thought was relevant to this topic is that when they get a new user, they invest a great deal of time and energy to help that user feel more confident and competent in a listing presentation. And the thought being, if the real estate agent, right, their user, if they feel more confident and competent in their ability to convert, for lack of a better term, that listing presentation into a listing, that they would be more willing to have more conversations with that audience. Because I do feel like, and maybe some of you struggle with this, if you lack the confidence or the competence, which they go together really well. I think about this a lot because I coach a lot of youth sports, like my kids. I coached before I had kids, but I've coached various sports for pretty much my entire adult life. And no matter how much you tell a kid to be confident in a game, if they don't feel competent in their skill, that confidence will go quickly. So the sport that I enjoy coaching the most, or the two related ones, are baseball and softball. So my oldest plays baseball. My younger two daughters play softball. And I just love coaching that sport. No amount of me telling my daughter or her teammates to be confident when they step in the batter's box, they cannot feel confidence if they don't feel that they are skilled enough to be able to hit the ball against that pitcher. And so if you don't feel skilled enough or competent enough in your ability, in the example that I was using there, Curtis, and feeling more competent and confident in a listing presentation, you're going to either consciously or unconsciously put off having the conversations to get to that point, right? Like you're gonna unknowingly avoid that work. And I think the same thing goes, and I've realized this from some feedback that I've gotten from agents in our community, the school community, agents that attend these masterminds, etc., is that I've been sharing scripts and templates for years and years. I just make them available to everybody. I just share what works. And some people, no matter what I try, won't use them. And at least part of the reason is they're not confident or don't feel competent to know what to do when they actually work, right? So what if, for example, I shared a script on Friday, a text and email that I had sent out to a small portion of our database to try and get some weekend appointments for Cosette. She's one of the buyer agents on our team here locally. And I say that script was designed to get weekend appointments, but really the script was simply to start conversations with people in the database. And I got several responses of people saying, essentially, this is great, but I don't really know what to do if they reply. Do I show them a house? Do I need to give a pre-approval? Do I have to have them sign a buyer agency contract? Blah, blah, right? You know, what I guess the big picture is I want to spend time on the actual system, but what I would love for feedback when we get to Q&A is like, what is stopping you from using some, whether it's scripts, templates, resources, etc., that we provide or that you have access to otherwise, so that we can help you feel more confident and competent in doing that. That was a very roundabout way of getting to the actual system that I wanted to share that's working for me. And I'm going to show you exactly how I deployed that this morning. And then probably, I think we're good on time, I'll show you how I'm going to deploy the same system again tomorrow morning and what that will look like. Then I'll share some other scripts and templates and where you can get those. And then we'll open it up for Q&A, etc. And by the way, I should have mentioned this sooner, but if you're watching in the Facebook group, the Wake Up Real Estate Facebook group, if you're watching the live stream in there, and you want to join us in the live in the Zoom room, if you go to growwithjosh.com/M for mastermind, you can do that. And I will do my best to monitor there as well. So if you have questions, comments, etc., as we go through this, please drop those in the comments there. So the system that I used to tease this session is the deal of the week system. I know I talked about it probably a month ago. I've talked about it a lot recently, but the more I deploy it, the more I use the system, the more I refine the process, the more conversations it's creating for me, and therefore the more client opportunities it's creating for me. 1 second. It's freezing cold here, and no matter what I do, my nose just keeps wanting to run. So I'm going to disappear off screen for 1 second. Nobody wants to see that running out of my nose. Anyway, the deal of the week system. This is the one, though I said you got to find what works for you, et cetera, et cetera. I do believe that this system is one that all of you can use in your own way. Find the ways or the pieces of this that make sense for you and start deploying as soon as possible. The evolution of this for me is that I was sending out a deal of the week to my entire email database a couple of months ago. And what I realized is that wasn't relevant to a lot of the people receiving it. In other words, I use KV Core, and so I've got these buckets of different types of client avatars, let's say. So I've got a bucket of people looking for land. I've run land ads over the years. I personally have bought and sold vacant land, so I have this bucket of people. That's what they're looking for. So if I send them a new construction deal of the week, or my master on Main deal of the week, which I'll show you, that's what I sent out this morning. Like, it's not relevant to them. So it feels like spam to them, is the reality. Like, it's not relevant. So recently, I've started to bucket down my database, which it's work worth doing for any of you. Like, whether you bucket down your database based upon what people are looking for or what your relationship is with them, just having this one big nebulous database of people is better than not having anything. But the reality is, being able to send communication that is more congruent and compelling to that bucket, and by doing it consistently, it will turn into more business.
Hey, Josh, can I chime in just for a second?
Please do.
Okay.
I'm going to get a
I
drink while
think
you do.
no problem. This is absolutely crucial for your business. Not everybody is using KV Core. I can only speak from the programs that I have been using, but in KV Core specifically, you can use hashtags to segregate your business, as Josh is telling you. And it is one of the most important things that you can be doing every follow-up call when you note your account after you've had a conversation and putting in hashtags. I have not found a limit of hashtags for each individual person. And I'd say the average person has probably 12 hashtags showing the city that they're in, the part of the city they're in, the neighborhood, whether I know them from one of my stock brokerage jobs or high school, college, whatever. If they're an investor, if they are a lender, if they're a hard money lender, this will prove to save you hundreds of hours in trying to find people that you want with the deal of the week that Josh has been talking about. I instigated that and started really doing that about 3 weeks ago. And as he mentioned, I'm focusing in on my investment clients, and I started sending deals of the week for fixer upper homes or things that were pre foreclosure or had deep discounts on their price. And just in the last 3 weeks, this last week alone, really drilling down, going a mile deep and an inch wide, has in the last week gotten me 2 new listings and 3 new buyers, that 2 of which are already under contract. This is something that you really want to make sure that you're doing so you can put hyper local ad or marketing to them. And when I say hyper local, very relevant to them.
Yep.
So I just wanted to add to that. This will truly help kick the people ready to do something out of the weeds and help you gain a whole lot of market authority.
Yep. So relevant, congruent, and compelling, right? That's what you want it
Yes.
to be. And the more it is, the greater response, the greater the percentage response you can get. So since I have pivoted to making my deal of the week or deploying my deal of the week system to these different, I have 3 different buckets right now, and that may continue to evolve. But since I've done that, I've gotten more replies or conversations from a smaller audience because I've bucketed them down into these smaller audiences. So I'm not sending as many emails or text messages than I was before bucketing it down this way, but I'm getting more replies because what I'm sending is more relevant to them. It's congruent to what they were looking for, and it's more compelling to them because it fits the criteria that they may have mentioned. Thank you, Shay. That was an unpaid endorsement from Shay as he's heading to maybe one of the appointments that he's gotten by using this. Who knows? Don't let me forget, too. I'm going to weave in. I had I guess you would call it a listing appointment yesterday from clients that have been in my day in KV Core here, I think since 2021. And some of what I'm sharing today is the reason why they then emailed me later today or later yesterday saying basically, Sandy and I, this was from John, the client, Sandy and I have decided that we're definitely going to work with you. We're not even going to talk to any other real estate agents. And so proof in action on some level. So the 3 buckets that I've been deploying this deal of the week system are the land, right? People interested in land. And I can show what all of this looks exactly the same. It's just a matter of the property type that I'm sending. But the email, the text message, the social media content, the Google business profile post, all of that, it's the same every time, which also makes it easy to deploy. So bucket 1 is land. Bucket 2 is downsizer, baby boomer, people that, and I bucketed a few different hashtags in KV Core, people that had opted in specifically for quote unquote downsizer friendly homes or homes with a master on main. They're generally speaking a similar bucket type. And then the third bucket, which by the way, land is on Tuesday. The baby boomer master on main bucket is on Wednesday. And the third bucket is new construction or a home with land, because that's more the trade up buyer. So to me, both of those are pretty relevant and congruent. So I've got these 3 different buckets. And it's part of my Tuesday, Wednesday morning routine now is I go and find my deal of the week for that bucket. And then I craft my email. I get that ready. I schedule out my social media post and my Google business profile post update. And then when I'm ready to deploy, which I do around 9:30, I then send the text message manually as well. And the reason being, for some reason in KV Core, you can't save a text template where it pulls in the image of the property. And I'm getting a lot more replies when I pull that image in. So let me show you specifically what that looked like today. Like I literally just did this 2 hours ago. The marketing went out 2 hours ago. I did some of the work earlier in the morning. I'm in KV Core. You may or may not have KV Core. It doesn't really matter, right? All of this that I'm about to show you, you can use whatever you're using for. And also, I would make the case that even if you have to manually do some of this stuff because you don't have a big database or whatever the case may be, like it's work worth doing because it will help you get more conversations. And that is the best way for you to get more clients. More conversations, more clients. So I'm going to pull up my template and I'll show you, even for those that are using KV Core, here's how I have a growing number of templates because each week or each week for each bucket, I just clone my email from the week before. And I started using, I'm not going to say deploy anymore. I've said that way too many times this session. It's ridiculous. I've been using a recommendation from someone from one of these masterminds. I can't remember who it was to put the MLS number in the name of the smart campaign so that you can, if you forget, or which one was that? Because the other thing that has started to happen for me is I have people that will say, hey, can you send me information on the deal of the week from last week? And then I'm like, which one was that? I can go and more easily find that. So anyway, this morning, I cloned this email. And by the way, I put the date in, which also makes it easy for me to search for them. So I put the date both in the subject line and in the template name.
Hey Josh, are you still doing a weekly newsletter?
Nope.
Oh, shut that down. Oh, interesting. Okay, cool.
Which, James, to be fair, I've said that every time I've talked about the deal of the week strategy for several months now.
I only half listened.
Fair point. It's a good reminder for me. And this goes for coaching too. If you're doing any kind of coaching or training, you have to repeat yourself often. It's just the reality. We think because we say something once that everyone heard it loud and clear. And I can tell you for sure in my household, we got to repeat everything over and over and over and over. The simple one is, can we turn off the light in the bathroom? Nobody's been in there for hours. Anyway.
That's why I love that you record these because that's when I really dive in and I'll take notes and actually follow on do it. So
right on.
Okay.
So my Wednesday, I'm trying different or copy just because I like to test. Once I know something works, I like to test different things to see if I can get, once you have a control, you have something that works, can you beat the control kind of thing? So the subject line today was Central PA, in quotes, master on Main, deal of the week. Last week, my Wednesday deal was in a 55 plus community. So I put that into the subject line. It was Central PA 55 plus community deal of the week. So like just playing with different things. But this structure remains constant, right? So like area, type of property, deal of the week, date. Area,
Josh.
Type of property, deal of the week, date. Yes.
So this is an email template. I have KV Core. For those of us that do, would you mind just backing up a couple of steps and showing us how you created this in the template area? Because I use templates for my newsletter, but not necessarily for emails. And this is really valuable. I just was curious essentially you're using it over and just changing the information. Would you mind showing how you created it?
So I've got it open here, and then I'll show what it looks like to create one from scratch, rather, and then I'll show how I just clone them.
Right? You actually use it over and over. That's okay. Cool. All right.
So subject line structure, your area, right? And my Thursday, which I'm most likely going to create that while we're live here. We'll see how much Q&A. But my Thursday one is specific to Cumberland County. But this one, because the hashtags and the people that have opted in, they've opted in for more like general central PA. My point is, you need to find the happy medium for what is going to be congruent to the people you're sending it to, but not too specific that it becomes irrelevant. In other words, if I only said Enola, PA, master on Main, deal of the week, which is the little town that I live in, like literally the population in Enola is 4,500 people, that's not going to be relevant. But if I go too broad, it might not be relevant either. So you got to find a happy medium for what works for you in your market. The actual body of the email is just text. I repeat, just text. There's no links. There's no images. There's nothing other than text. Here's our Central PA Master on Main deal of the week. It's Cape Cod with a primary suite on the main floor in Carlisle. And I don't know. Maybe this is unique to PA or maybe not, but you can live in Carlisle and live in 6 different townships or boroughs. So I put in to make it more relevant so people know, okay, what part of Carlisle? I generally speaking have at least 3, but usually 4 or 5 bullet points. 0.8 acre lot. And in this case, that's relevant to these folks because these folks most likely, they don't want a big lot. Like they don't want to have a lot of maintenance, right? Oversized 1-car garage, 3-bed, 2.5 bath, move-in ready, new carpet and paint throughout, finished basement with a bar, very conveniently located. And I put the price. Interested or know someone who might be? Just hit reply and I'll get you all the details, pictures, floor plan, and other details. I said details twice there. That's dumb. I'll change that for next week if I remember, just to make it more punchy. And then Josh, okay, now this is a little thing, but to me, these little things add up. This makes it seem more like a personal email. Josh. That seems more personal. Now, then I have my full information. If your state requires you to include more specific details here, obviously do that. But like in Pennsylvania, if I put my phone number, I have to put the office number. So that for me in Pennsylvania, that meets my state requirements. If you have to have your license number there or whatever, that's fine. Just make it just be text, right? Like plain text, license number, whatever. And then PS, and I haven't really gotten any activity on this. I might switch it up and I'll give you another example of a PS that has worked actually. But the PS that I've sent the last couple of weeks is, would you like to check it out in person sometime later this week or weekend? Just let us know. Sometimes I send no PS at all. So the only thing they can do is reply if they want information on this one. What I have found to work as a PS also is something along these lines. Right now, there are 100 recently price reduced homes here in Central PA with a master on the main floor. Would you like me to send you the complete list? So you go and search whatever criteria and you find what that number is. And that is one PS where I've gotten people that have specifically replied and they weren't necessarily interested in the deal, the property that's the deal of the week, but they did want the whole list. And what does that get me? More conversation opportunities. More conversation opportunities. Right now, there are 74 recently priced reduced vacant lots and land available for sale in Central PA. Would you like the complete list? Right now, there are 93 recently priced reduced new construction homes available in Central PA. Would you like the full list? Or right now, there are 34 new construction homes available or quick move in new construction, the wording on that, but I'm going to show, after I show what I deployed, I said it again, doggone it. After I show you what I sent today as my deal of the week system, I'm going to show tomorrow's, which will be a new construction, and I'll show you the resource that I use that's free to all of us that I use to try and find where quick move options, right? So homes that are either already done and available or will be done soon, like the construction will be done soon. Anyway, so that's the email template. And yes, so I'll take a minute here, David, and I'll address your question on the building of that. So under all marketing, if you go to smart campaigns and then you go to templates, email is the first one selected over here. And then if you go to add template, email template, this is where when I'm creating one from scratch, where I build that. And you can use the advanced editor, but you shouldn't for this email because it should just be text. And I'm not talking to you, David. I'm just saying to everyone in general. So that's where I create it from scratch. Now, once I have my first one, I'll go 220. So here is my new construction deal of the week from last Thursday. I'm going to hit clone, and now I'm not starting from scratch. So then I'm going to change this to 220. I don't have my MLS number for it yet, but I would save this and I'd edit this and then I'd clone the template. And now I've saved myself a bunch of work. So I'm going to come back to that because I'm going to include, or show you how I would go through that process and get myself set up for tomorrow's here in a minute. But I want to close the loop on what was sent today. So I created that template in KV Core. If you want to schedule an email, you have to go to all marketing and scheduled mass emails. The problem with that is that you can't schedule an email closer than 24 hours away. In other words, if I go to schedule an email now, the soonest I could schedule an email right now at the time of this live session would be tomorrow at noon. And if I planned ahead well enough, maybe I could get ahead of this. But I also like to pick the deal as often as possible where it'll be available by the time they're actually getting the email. And most of my deals of the week have been on the market a little while. They've been price reduced, right? That's oftentimes one of the indicators I use to pick a deal of the week. And so in most of those cases, they're not going to go under contract in 24 hours. But the one I sent today was actually a new listing. It just hit the market. And the reason I sent that one out is because I've been sending out deals on Wednesdays that were higher priced, like they were north of 500,000, and I wanted to have one that was closer to the average price in my market. So I took a little bit of a risk there, but it's not really a risk because, again, the whole point of any of this is just to get yourself in more conversations with the people in your database. Fernando.
Are you using PropStream or the MLS to find the deal? I'm actually doing that right now. I'm trying to find my deal, and it's sometimes
so I typically just use the MLS. I also use a resource that I'm using for my new construction one, which is New Home Source Professional.
Okay.
But I did recently recorded a video on how to find on-market deals in PropStream. So I'm not opposed to doing that. I don't think there's any reason not to do that if you're using PropStream or if you're struggling to find a deal of the week. And if you're watching this and you'd like to check that video out on the on-market deals on PropStreams, you should be able to find it on my YouTube channel or just hit me up and I'll send you that. There are some filtering options within PropStream that you can't replicate in your MLS. Bright is our MLS. So because most of the time I don't have my deal ready enough for me to schedule out the broadcast, how I am sending it out is I have these different buckets. So you can see here, these are the filters for the bucket that I'm sending out on Wednesday. This is the text opt-in list. So I have 99 people that I can text my deal of the week to for this bucket. The email portion, which I have as a saved filter as well, is just under 500. What I did this morning, I've got this bucket of 500. I select all, I choose email. I search for my template, and this is important if you're using KV Core. Do not include my signature. You can have a set signature under your profile KV Core. I do not include that. I just want it to be this, just this. And actually, one thing I noticed this morning, add a couple of spaces after your PS. It reads a little bit better, and it also means that the unsubscribe link is not directly under your PS. It makes it a little bit easier to read, and that unsubscribe isn't in their face with your last call to action, which is just a little tweak I made this morning. So you can send 250 at a time, and this morning that means I had to do this twice. So I sent it to page 1 of the results, and then I sent it to page 2. I told you we were going to get into the dirt and the weeds here, and we very much are, but I'm showing you how the sausage is made. Like, this is exactly how I'm doing this stuff. And then, I forgot to save that other filter. I'll have to do that again. And then, so after I sent the email, I then texted the folks that were opted in to text. Here we go. I'm not going to show this for long because anytime I show personal data, YouTube can flag this thing. But morning, Jeanette. Here's our Central PA Master on Main deal of the week, Cape Cod and Carlisle for $299. Who do you know that might be interested? I'm not even saying, would you like to check it out? Would you like more information? Though I do that, sometimes I'll say, would you like more info, or would you like to check out all the pictures, floor plan, and community details? But I'll mix up the two of those, right? So I'll mix up asking them if they want more information with who do you know that this might be a good fit for? So that's the email. I'll pull up the Google Business Profile update, which you can manually schedule these or manually post these, obviously. But part of I try to be efficient with my early morning work. And so I've been using the schedule function in Go High Level, specifically the Pro Edge CRM that I have. And there are lots of different platforms that you can schedule them on. And specifically, like on Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., you can schedule posts, but you can't do it in Google Business Profile. You have to use a third party something or other. So for whatever that's worth, this right here is the post. So I don't have a picture of the property. This isn't an EXP listing. It's not a new construction listing where I have blanket consent to market. So I chose not to put the actual property photo. I just took a picture of the satellite view with it pegged. And someone could maybe figure out what this listing is, but who cares? Here's our central PA. This is literally exactly the email copy without my signature, my email signature. The call to action is, who do you know that might be interested? Let's chat. The call to action button is the call now button, which when someone sees on their Google Business Profile, it literally has them call me. And then I started, and I've been pretty consistent with this since David mentioned on the mastermind session we had a few weeks ago on optimizing and generating free leads with your Google Business Profile. I have been including, I would say, generally speaking, between 7 and 10 hashtags at the end of every one of my Google Business Profile updates. And I say every one, but sometimes I forget. So if you go and look at my profile and you see some, it wasn't intentional, it's because I forgot. And until I have reason to believe that it doesn't help or that it actually hurts, I'm going to keep doing that. So that was the Google Business update. And then let me see if I can find what the post was on Facebook. And then I'm going to have to go quickly onto, I'll walk you through my thought process on how I do this and show you some of the resources I'm using for tomorrow's, which will be it'll be new construction. And that's the one that I've been switching back and forth between new construction or homes with land, quote unquote. Basically trade up buyers. The post is essentially the same as the Google Business update, but so it's the same image, the same hashtags, but I've included like my signature, which has phone number and email. And I did include the price there. I do think it probably makes more sense to not include the price when posting on social because that's one of the relevant pieces of data that someone would likely want. And so it forces them to create or start a conversation with you. But I included it in this one. I'm playing with both. One thing that I intend to test sooner than later with this process or this system is running an ad where I'm optimizing for comments and DMs, and in saying the call to action, like comment DOW or deal for information about this deal, and playing with that as a way to leverage work I'm already doing, right? If I'm doing the work of finding the deal and crafting the bullet points and doing some of that work, let's find ways for me to leverage it beyond that as well. And that is the other type of ad, or the other way that I'll call it pouring gasoline on the fire, is the last couple Wednesday deal of the weeks or deals of the week that I've been marketing or utilizing. I have used listings to leads to then create a Facebook and Instagram lead ad so that I'm adding people to that bucket so that next Wednesday, that deal of the week is going to more people than it was the Wednesday prior. This week, I'm going to test doing that with my Thursday deal of the week, the new construction bucket. I've just been playing around with things. So the one thing that you can all start doing immediately is the email. Like all of you can be doing the email part. And that's where I started. I started with a deal of the week email. And when I talked about this a month ago or so, and if this is something that you're interested in, go back and check that one out. This is how I got started selling real estate. This was my primary way of working with clients that weren't people that I knew or that knew and trusted me. Was I would send out it was investment focused because that was my primary client avatar at the time. And I would send out a deal of the week. And I even showed some of those old email examples, and they're not that different other than I was including in some of them links. And I just don't, I think at this point, because of email deliverability and everything else, it does not make sense to do that. I want it to be as clean and the lowest likelihood possible that it gets blocked or sent into the spam or junk folder if possible. Don says, and why just text? For exactly that reason, Don. Any links or images that you include in your emails are going to increase the likelihood that they don't make it to the recipient's inbox. Now, there are best practices if you are sending other emails, but for this specific strategy, there's no benefit to including other stuff. The only goal of the email is to get somebody to reply. So what value would there be? And I'm not picking on you, Don. I'm just saying, just for those that may be wondering the same thing, there is no value in having your image or links to your social or whatever. That'll come later in the conversation. And it probably already has. They've probably already seen you on socials. One way or another, that's coming, and they're going to go and find you anyway. They're going to go, but before they meet with you, they're going to go Google you, right? And they're going to see your face. They're going to see your social. Yeah, there's no net tangible benefit, in my opinion. Larry, hi, Josh. Is such a large amount of listings over 50 too much for a client versus 5 to 10 listings? Larry, I am going to assume that you're talking about when I was teasing the PS, there are 112. In my opinion, no. And I think what you're maybe, how do I want to frame this? So that is a good hook to get someone to raise their hand and be curious about it. And then as we continue the conversation, we would drill down to know what they really want, right? So this is everything that might fit what you want. But the reality is you probably have a specific school district or area or type of home or number of beds, etc. And so this is a perfect way to lead into the next part of the process. So what do you do when they reply, send me more info, or where can I see that? So for example, Jeanette, I'm not going to bring it back up here because again, I don't want YouTube to flag this video because we're going to add this to YouTube after the fact. But all I'm going to do to reply to Jeanette is I'm going to send her the short URL. She texted, so I'm going to text reply with the short URL to the specific listing. And KV Core gives you short URLs. If you can't do a short URL, like whatever, just use a free URL shortener or just say, I'm going to email you all of the details now. Is this the best email for you? And whatever email you have there. Then I'm going to send her the additional info and details from the MLS. So I'll send her the full MLS sheet and I'll send her the disclosures, if there's floor plans, I'll send her any of the additional info that I can on the property. And I want to make sure that she gets that information. Okay. And I'm not like trying to be annoying. I just want to make sure, hey, you're interested. I want to make sure that you're getting the information that you're interested in. And this is a perfect part of if you're stuck on like, why would someone work with me? Or what do I do? How do I be of value and service to them? One thing then you might ask is, would you like me to send you some additional info that you won't find in the MLS sheet and disclosures? And if they're really interested, they're probably going to say yes. And so what do you send them then? What I do is I go to PropStream, I pull up the information from PropStream, and I'll send them that with a video. And I'll highlight, this is what the current owner paid for the home and when. This is the last time that they got a mortgage on the property or did a refi, or it looks like they got a HELOC on the property back when. Or I might even say, this isn't their primary residence. They're an absentee owner, so it's probably been a rental for them. They might have been, whatever the case may be. So I'm providing information for them that they can't get or they're not getting from other people out there. Because here's the other thing to keep in mind. Unless they truly are your client already, they're probably talking with more than one agent. They're probably in conversation with more than just you. You need to take the bull by the horns and demonstrate the value that you can provide in excess of just being like every other agent who sends them whatever. And there are other ways that you could do that. I use PropStream because I love it and I use it for lots of different things. But if you don't have PropStream or you don't want to use that, you might be able to find that information in your tax database, like different tax records and counties have information. But by going that extra mile, here's what happens. They may or may not. In fact, they are most likely not going to buy that property with you. They are probably not going to buy the deal of the week property. Not likely. But when they are ready to transact, if you've gone above and beyond, they are more likely to have already decided that they're working with you, and unbeknownst to you, telling the other people that are trying to get them in conversation with them, I already have an agent. Okay. So go the extra mile, be of value and service, and you will be quietly winning those opportunities, which gives me, and man, I am so long-winded, doggone it. I wanted to cover a lot more here. Maybe I'll just document some of what I was going to cover here and release that as a separate video. The clients that I met with yesterday who had been in my database since 2021, at the end of our conversation with them, they said that essentially what I just said to you. We've been talking with these other people. We get these other people hassling. We love the way that you have consistently been following up with us and been doing everything possible to be of value and service before. Now, these were my words, but that's essentially what they were saying. And then, like I said, later in the afternoon, hey, just so you know, Sandy and I, we're definitely working with you. We're not even going to talk to anybody else, or we're not going to meet with anyone else in person. They had obviously talked to a few other people along the lines. Jackie, go ahead.
Have you tried any of this for like sellers who have raised their hand saying they want to sell? Have you
I don't know if you're cutting short or
an
not,
email
but I
like a
get the,
delivery
say that again?
for a seller side?
Yes. Now, I don't do a deal of the week for the sellers, but since you mentioned it, I do have an additional resource that I will include with the replay of this. If you can't find it or you don't see it or whatever, just shoot me a DM, reach out to me. But these are, I put together what I would call my top 10 scripts for sellers, email and text scripts, and I put them all in this doc. And these are what have actually worked for me. Now, there are a mix of, no, actually, these are all, at least from the perspective that you have, that you know that they own their home currently, if I remember correctly. Yes, these all are. What do you do when that happens? For example, these folks yesterday, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find our actual conversation because I don't want to screw this up, and I want to give you guys, I want you to see what this looks like in real life. I got to be able to find the email thread. And by the way, I had never talked to this person on the phone before. That's not true. Maybe I tried to call them at some point because I saw that they engaged with something, but I don't remember. Oh, this is beautiful. Okay, this is a beautiful example that very specifically will answer your question, Jackie, or at least in one scenario. So one of the things that I do with the homeowner portion of my database is once a month, I send them email to encourage them to check out their home value and seller dashboard with iList. Now, if you're not using iList, there are other ways that you can do that. And in fact, you can do it right in KV Core. KV Core has a listing valuation tab, and you can literally just send them to that email. You could also send them a market report for the area that they live in, right? So there are lots of ways that you can deploy this, right? You don't have to have iList to do this, though I love it and use it. And if you want to check it out, let me know. I'll get you a great deal on it. A little bit of extended trial, etc. Just let me know. But John, so the last time I sent out the email for folks to check out their dashboard early in February. And the email is in this document, which let me drop this in the chat for everyone as well. So I'm going to drop it in the chat, but if you're watching on Facebook or you're watching this after the fact, it should be in the description. And if not, just drop a comment or shoot me an email or text or whatever. I'm not hard to find. So I can see in iList, in your console, you can see who is visiting their dashboard. And this is John here. Now, he's looked at it a few times, but earlier in the month when he looked at it, I then manually sent him this email. John, looks like you were checking out the value of your property at, and the property address. Just curious, which of these would you say is the most accurate about why you're interested in the value? That sentence could be cleaned up a little bit now that I'm reading it out loud, which is a good reminder that you want to read your email copy out loud because sometimes it sounds different out loud than it does in your brain when you're writing it. Anyway, and then I've got 5 options, A, B, C, D, E. Hit reply and let us know. And then, he said we would be looking at C, looking to sell around June timeframe. Okay. To which I replied, and honestly, looking back at this was a terrible reply. I'm not terrible, but it could have been better. I said, thanks, John. In the meantime, is it okay if we keep you posted on what homes are selling for nearby? Now, it's not terrible because I'm asking a question. I'm continuing the conversation. Quite honestly, I could have done a little bit better. Although, if I had been more aggressive with the reply, maybe I would have scared him off. I don't know. And John says, we'll be moving to upstate New York and build on our land so we could be closer to family. Maybe we could meet soon to go over things. That sounds pretty amazing, meaning the building on land in New York. And yes, I'd love to meet and go over things. How soon are you thinking? Would later this week sometime or early next make sense? How about next Tuesday, the 18th? Makes sense to me. 10 a.m. or noon work better. Noon would be good. Where could we meet to talk? We have two beagles, etc. And so we met at a Starbucks in Carlisle. And so I met with them yesterday, and they have already agreed verbally to work with me. And that was a practical. Jackie, did that help? Like a very specific tactical. I think if you push too hard for the appointment, you can scare people away. So there's a fine line. And I do think, generally speaking, if a conversation is opened with a lead that you've had no communication with, you want to start with easy questions or easier for them to answer, let's say, and warm that up. For example, that reply that I said to him, hey, it was an easy yes or no. Would you like me to keep you updated on what properties are selling for nearby? It was yes or no. I wasn't like, could you tell me everything about your property and rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 and what improvements have you made, blah, blah, blah. We could get to those questions, but make it easy for them to get them moving down a slippery slope. The other way to think about it is like micro commitments, because every reply they have to you is a micro commitment. And the more that they respond to you, the less likely they are to have that same conversation with your competitor in your market. Because let's face it, we don't want to have the same conversation with a bunch of different people. And statistics show, generally speaking, it's about 75% of both buyers and sellers talk to one agent before they transact. If you're that one, or if they talk to you and you don't screw it up, you pretty much have a 3/4 chance of getting them as a client. Fernando, you've had your hand up for a while. Sorry.
Hey, just real quick, your iList promo code. I couldn't find it on your site. I wonder if you can share that with me, and then also share the.
It should be josh.com/iList, and that should get you a 45-day trial. And if not, let me know, and I'll make sure that Joe hooks it up.
45 days? Ooh, okay. Yeah, I'm going to sign up.
Yeah.
But the other thing is when I go to growwithjosh.com, it doesn't recognize my emails. I'm having issues trying to log into it.
You're having issues trying to log into what?
To Grow with Josh. You have a page that says growwithjosh.com.
Yeah, there's no login. That should just be like a Linktree page.
Interesting. Okay.
Let me know what you're seeing, and I'll figure that out. So for whatever it's worth, growwithjosh.com, I have linked up to Rebrandly. If you want to join us live each Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern in this Zoom room, if you go to growwithjosh.com/MM, that is a shortened URL for the actual Zoom link. But growwithjosh.com should be going to a Linktree, I think, but I need to update that anyway.
Looks like it's broken, but so growwithjosh.com/iList is where I can find that promo.
It should be there. I haven't looked at it in a little bit, but for anyone interested, if you sign up there or even before you sign up, just let me know and I'll make sure that Joe honors that 45-day trial.
I'm there. It's got your name on it. Cool.
Perfect. James shared something really valuable here. I forgot about this. RPR, which probably every one of you on here is paying for indirectly, right? With your NAR dues, one of the few things that, I don't know, are actually of value that they provide. Google, don't translate that and let them know. But RPR has tax and mortgage info. So that would be another tool you could use instead of PropStream to have that information and be sending those potential clients details that they won't see in the MLS. They might see it on Zillow if they are savvy, but most of them are not savvy enough to find this additional info and details. And if you're the one that's pointing it out and even sharing ideas of how that information might be relevant, if it was a property that you're interested, like you're going the extra mile before ever expecting them to be a client. One of my favorite marketing people, let's say, of all time, his name is Frank Kern. He has nothing specifically to do with real estate, but that's an idea that he talks about, has been talking about for years. Provide results in advance. Provide results in advance, right? Go the extra mile in advance of ever expecting something in return. And what you do is you create a sense of reciprocity where that person feels compelled to want to return the favor. And in our scenario, returning the favor is utilizing you and your services. Here's what I'm going to do, because I did intend to go through and document my process for getting inside my head. I'm going to document that separately because I have to do it for tomorrow's anyway, and I actually have the property already picked out for it. So I'll document that separately. I'll probably include a link in the description with this once that's created as well for those who may be interested. And I'll share that with anyone who might be interested. I'll also make sure that we include that document that has the 10 scripts and templates that I've compiled. Those are the 10 best that pretty much anytime I use those, it creates conversations. And you can pretty much rinse and repeat. There's 10 of them there. And if you use one of those ideas every week, you can pretty much recycle them every 10 to 12 weeks, and they'll work like clockwork each and every time, especially if you're adding to them. Oh, Jackie, thank you. That is a wonderful way to tie in. Jackie asked, will I put that in school? Which gives me the thank you for teeing me up so beautifully. If you haven't already done so, you should check out the free school community, Leads, Listings, Leverage, growwithjosh.com/LL. And yes, I will be putting that in here. So under the classroom tab, I'll add this under replays. And not only will I put the replay there, but I'll put the video of me documenting, picking my deal of the week, and then doing the entire marketing process with that. My email, my text, my Google business update, my social posts on Facebook. I haven't been doing it on Instagram. I don't know why. I need to post it on Instagram too. That's silly. I'll document that there. I'll put the recommended resources, the Google Docs, all of that under one thing. Again, it's Leads, Listings, Leverage. It's free to join. It'll be free forever. It's just to me, a better, more organized way for me to be sharing the resources and making it easy also for us to create a little sense of community and interact.
Can you drop that link in the chat? Thank you.
I'm going to drop the direct link in the chat just in case something's wrong with the URL shortener or the redirect link. So I'll drop that. But it should work, growwithjosh.com/3Ls, L, or 3L. I also set that up too. If you post on Instagram, you can have it auto post to Facebook. Yeah, I think it still works if you're using a scheduler and you have it turned on in there. I think that works, but I may have to play with that as well. But that's a good call, Jackie. All right. I try to keep these to an hour. We went a little long. I hope it's helpful. More importantly, I hope you all take this idea and find how to deploy it in your business. Like instead of finding why it won't work or reasons not to do it, find a way and a reason to do it and start with something, even if it's just the email. I did not immediately do email and text and the Google business update and Facebook, etc. That has evolved over time through the consistent nature of it and me realizing I'm already doing this work. I might as well get more from the work I'm already doing and report back. And also, if you're not sure or you want some help or you just want to chat about strategy specific to your local market, I'm game for that too. Josh15.com should bring up my calendar. You can schedule or just shoot me a text. My personal cell is 717-571-0456. Thank you, Jackie and Fernando and Shay and who was it? Larry asking questions, James providing resources, Tamara as well in the comments, Caitlin, and really appreciate you all, Don as well. So thank you for all the great questions, interactions, etc. Take action. And next week, I don't know for sure, but I think we're going to be talking SEO and what I'm doing to do some SEO and even AI optimized, something along those lines. And we're going to have a special guest. I say most likely I'm not 100% on that. If it's not next week, it'll be coming soon. Also in the coming weeks, I'll be sharing the Google pay-per-click campaigns that are generating leads for me, and not just leads, but conversations. I had 3 conversations yesterday with leads that came from the campaign that we'll show and demonstrate and walk everybody through. And if you have any topics or guests that you think would make sense to bring on to these masterminds, I'm all ears on that as well. Thanks, everybody. Long-winded enough. Make it a great rest of the week. Stay warm wherever you are, because I think it's cold everywhere. right now. It seems like it. So stay warm, and hopefully see you next Wednesday as well.